Everyone in Guangling City says Xie Qingxi is blessed with good fortune, because he has an elder brother who is capable and always has his back. When Xie Qingxi skipped school, his elder brother brought dried meat to apologize to the teacher in person. When Xie Qingxi ran away from his debts, his elder brother went to the gambling den himself to settle the accounts for him. Even Nanny Zhao couldn't help but sigh as she was threading my face. The eldest young master excels in every way. But the second young master is truly disappointing. If this marriage arrangement were for the eldest young master, the master and mistress would be overjoyed. Instead, I cheerfully comforted Nanny Zhao. The eldest young master may be so good, but the second young master might not be bad either. To this day, to please his childhood sweetheart, Xie Qingxi fled from the wedding, leaving me, who had traveled from afar to marry him, waiting endlessly in the bridal sedan. As the auspicious hour passed, all the guests in the hall craned their necks, watching the spectacle and whispering among themselves. As the saying goes, a daughter is married with her head held high, but a bride is welcomed with her head bowed. Let's wait and see how that Miss Shun from the Shun family cries and makes a scene. But inside the bridal sedan, I neither cried nor made a fuss. She just lifted the fan and raised her eyes, tilting her head curiously to look at the eldest son. Skipping school or dodging debts is one thing, but how is the eldest son going to clean up the mess for his brother who ran away from his wedding? Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. TSK. That young lady from the Shun family really has a good temper. She didn't even cry or make a fuss. As for a bad temper, it's not like I don't have one. But I'm even more curious about how Xie Qingkai, the eldest son, is going to clean up the mess for the second son this time. Seeing that the servants couldn't find anyone anywhere, Xie's parents grew so anxious they couldn't sit still. After searching the entire mansion, only Chun Cha, the second son's personal attendant, was found with a long face, saying he had found a letter of divorce and a large sheet of paper in the study. The large sheet had only a few lines, but they were filled with contempt and disgust for me. I, Xie Qingxi, will only marry a wife who is beautiful and gentle, loves to laugh, and has a good temper. But it's all over the streets. This Miss Shun from Wu Commandery is said to be difficult, foolish, and troublesome. She's definitely not as good as Gu. Pa, I don't want her. The word pa was written in thick, heavy strokes, piercing through the paper, looking even uglier than old Master Xie's expression. Lord Xie furiously cursed his unfilial son, blaming Lady Xie for usually spoiling their second son too much and allowing him to disgrace the Xie family. Lady Xie lowered her head, clutching a handkerchief to wipe her tears, when she suddenly spotted Xie Qingkai, their eldest son, who was busy comforting the guests, as if she had seen a savior. Qingkai, what should we do now? Your younger brother has caused trouble again. As his elder brother, you must find a way to help him. The Xie family was anxiously running around in circles, while the surrounding guests spoke with cold indifference, to be sent back by the in-laws before even entering the door. The Shun family's daughter must have some moral failing. TSK, whether she has moral failings or not, who would dare marry her now that her reputation is tarnished? No one knew what the Xie family discussed behind closed doors, so long that I raised my head and let out a faint yawn inside the bridal sedan. Through my tearful gaze, I saw the golden tassels veiling my face tremble slightly, and the sedan door was lifted open a crack. It was Xie Qingkai. Having traveled 5 days by water to marry far away in Guangling, I was utterly exhausted. I only caught bits and pieces of what he said. Xie Qingkai, filled with apology and guilt, first bowed and gently offered a sincere apology on behalf of second brother. As he stood up, he noticed the tear at the corner of my eye and froze in surprise. He then asked me, if I didn't mind, whether I would consider remarrying him. His question left me somewhat at a loss. If I agree, it might seem like I'm too easygoing, but if I refuse, I'll have to endure another 5 days on a boat back. Besides, on the day I left home, my parents cried for a long time. If I go back and marry again, wouldn't that make them grieve twice? Moreover, Nanny Zhao often said that my parents always felt a bit regretful that I didn't marry the eldest son of the Xie family, who is thorough in everything and reliable. whether to remarry. I couldn't make up my mind at the moment, but I could still distinguish between making my parents grieve twice and making them happy twice. Only after thinking it through did I nod to step out of the bridal sedan. Then I remembered what mother had told me when I left home. The bride is to be most dignified and self-possessed. Others must plead 3 times before you give a slight nod. I had intended to act haughty and play hard to get, lest they think they could easily control me, but as the sedan door was lifted open, Erlang's wedding attire did not fit him well, so the Siechinkai before me appeared restrained and awkward, looking both uneasy and embarrassed. I couldn't help but laugh softly behind my round fan. Well, with this laugh, I can't pretend anymore. I simply put down the fan that was covering my face and asked him seriously while holding back my laughter, then, "Do you have a girl you like?" "No." "Then do you have any secret lovers or childhood sweethearts?" "None at all." Afraid I wouldn't believe him, Siechinkai earnestly added, "And there never will be." I thought for a moment, then nodded. "All right then." Seeing me quietly step out of the sedan chair, I took hold of the red silk, bowed to heaven and earth, and knelt before my parents-in-law. The surrounding guests, after whispering among themselves, gradually quieted down, offering words of congratulations and blessings. There were also a few discontented relatives from the Xie family's side branches, pointing and muttering under their breath about how improper it all was, but an elderly elder of the Xie family, stroking his beard, cheerfully interrupted them. "Dalang is blessed. A wife with such a good temper and understanding is something my grandson couldn't even hope to find. When it comes to marriage, you may dislike how perfectly matched they seem, but for them, it's just right. Actually, they aren't very well matched. For example, the night before the wedding, my mother was worried that my good temper would lead to me being bullied. She held my hand under the lamp and carefully shared her experiences with me. The young ladies of Wu Commandery are quite esteemed. You must carry yourself with the air of a new bride. First, point out how his knowledge and appearance fall short compared to his brothers, then criticize their home's vulgar decor and how the food doesn't suit your taste. If they don't take offense and instead treat you with genuine sincerity, then you can wholeheartedly return their kindness. Do you understand? I don't quite understand what you're saying, so I curiously ask in return, "Mother, what is sincerity? How can I tell?" Mother pokes my forehead with her finger and scolds me angrily, calling me a fool. "For us business people, sincerity is banknotes and land deeds. Just learn it. Your mother has always known how to handle your father this way." Father by the window didn't say a word, just watched Mother with a smile. Seeing that I still didn't get it, Mother sighed and asked Nanny Zhao to bring the booklet, teaching me to memorize the words to challenge Xie Qingxi on the wedding night. Tell him he's not as good as his elder brother. The eldest brother is steady and humble, and capable of managing the Xie family's salt shops and stores. They say his garden is extravagant, but it lacks elegance and is rather vulgar, only barely suitable for living in. I flipped through the booklet about Xie Qingxi and, seeing that several of his paintings were quite beautiful, softly retorted, "Mother is wrong. Second brother isn't so bad either." With the comparison between the eldest and second brother, the more Mother talked, the more worried and frowning she became. Nanny Zhao tried her best to comfort Mother. "Our eldest young lady is beautiful and gentle, always smiling and so good-natured, unless it's a great master who has shaved his head in the temple, who wouldn't like her upon seeing her. Besides, the Xie family's master and mistress favor the second son. If she were to marry the eldest son, she might very well suffer from the jealousy of her sisters-in-law. This is the truth. After all, when Xie Qingxi was 16, the Xie family gifted him a garden estate, not to mention exotic flowers and rare plants. Even the glass screens, gold chiming clocks, and Ru-Kil porcelain bestowed by the palace were nothing out of the ordinary. As I stepped out of the sedan chair, I caught a glimpse of the second young master's grand and opulent gait, and from afar, I could hear the rehearsed music of flutes, pipes, drums, and strings. Yet, just across the street, the eldest young master, Xie Qingkai, had nothing at all. His house was large but empty, devoid of any sense of home. There were no flowers in the yard, no fire in the stove, and not even a soft, thick quilt on the bed. At the sight of this, my heart suddenly sank. Oh no, I had been too busy laughing at Xie Qingkai in his tight-fitting clothes earlier. Now sitting in the old gauze canopy, I suddenly remembered that mother only taught me how to humiliate second brother. She never taught me how to belittle Xie Qingkai. Before I could think it through carefully, Xie Qingkai had already lifted the bridal veil and handed me a cup of wedding wine. Seeing that I didn't reach out to take it for a long time, Xie Qingkai thought I had changed my mind. He was silent for a moment, then took out a small box and handed it to me. If Miss Shen regrets it, just consider me standing in for Qingxi in the wedding ceremony. Our marriage will not be valid. It is I and the Xie family who have wronged you. Besides these, I will do everything in my power to make amends. When the box was opened, inside were a stack of property deeds and silver notes, the sincerity my mother had spoken of. Xie Qingkai, you're not familiar with the rules, are you? You want me to point out your faults first, then you'll bring out a box of sincerity to treat me. Holding that box of sincerity, I hadn't even had time to explain, but outside the courtyard, officials came to invite Xie Qingkai to Pengcheng to assist in investigating a salt tax case. Chun Cha, Erlang's servant, stood outside the door with a mournful face. Eldest young master, it's second young master who caused trouble again. Fearing the authorities wouldn't let it go, the master and mistress said it was your fault. The master said if you can't settle this matter before the new year, you'd better not come home, lest you anger His Majesty. I feel so indignant for Xie Qingkai. What biased parents! Why does the second son get to live in a garden estate while the eldest son is stuck in an empty courtyard? Why should the eldest son be blamed for the mistakes made by the second son? But Xie Qingkai seemed already accustomed to his parents' favoritism. He didn't look upset, just calmly replied, I understand. The small wooden box on my lap felt as if it were pressing down on my heart, heavy and burdensome. Oh, right, I almost forgot to mention. I quickly grabbed his sleeve and hurriedly said, Erlang is not as good as Dalang. Dalang is steady and modest. And he has the ability to manage the salt shop's business. Looking at the bare room, I couldn't bring myself to say the word extravagant no matter what. Dalang was taken aback, as if no one had ever said such a thing to him before. He looked at me for a long time, then slightly curved his lips into a smile. Thank you for the compliment, Miss Shen. When seeing Xie Qingkai off, the night outside was deep and heavy with dew. There were no pedestrians on the road, only 4 or 5 beggars, huddled together with their heads tucked in and backs arched, sheltering from the wind by the wall. In the deep autumn night, there was a thin, cold mist. I was wrapped in a thick cloak, breathing lightly on my hands, but my fingertips remained icy. Yet Xie Qingkai had no one to pack his luggage or prepare warm clothes for him. Thinking of my father, who was often away on business trips, I couldn't help but imitate my mother's manner and ask one more question. How long will it take for you to return? Xie Qingkai softened his indifferent expression and gave me a gentle smile. No later than 2 months. I will return as soon as possible. I counted the days and realized 2 months would be right around New Year's Eve. I felt genuinely happy for him. That's perfect. You'll be back in time for the New Year's Eve dinner. Xie Qingkai seemed unaccustomed to being cared for, pausing slightly. You'll wait for me to come back. I nodded with a cheerful smile. Yes, you've already given me a whole box of sincerity. According to the rules, it's now my turn to treat you with all my heart. Looking at my smiling face, Xie Qingkai hesitated for a moment before speaking. Miss Shen, wait for me at home these 2 months. Don't see him. Who don't you want to see? My younger brother, Xie Qingxi. Is he not good? No. Xie Qingkai tightened the reins, his expression obscured in the mist. It's precisely because he's too good. The sound of horse hooves faded into the distance, and the heavy doors closed one after another. The quiet street was broken only by the occasional scattered barks of dogs. Ah, look at that Shen family girl with her charming, smiling eyes. Even I, let alone the eldest son, would find it hard to leave once I saw her. When you see that girl sitting in the bridal sedan chair, smiling, TSK, the second son couldn't take his eyes off her. Isn't she exactly the type our Erlang likes the most? The few people dressed as beggars by the wall all turned to look at Xie Qingxi, who remained silent. Jiyu nudged Xie Qingxi, who was disguised as a beggar, with his elbow and teased him with a hint of jealousy. Some people said they wanted to teach the Shun family girl a lesson and put on a good show for the brothers. Are you regretting it now? Xie Qingzi was struck by the truth and remained silent. Just moments ago, when he saw the Shun family maiden on the bridal sedan, her face hidden behind a round fan, those smiling eyes peeking through the golden tassels, his heart suddenly sank, leaving him with a hollow, desolate feeling. It was Sima Shuo, Xie Qingzi's childhood friend, who couldn't stand to see his buddy in such a state, who says Qingzi regrets it. His elder brother only stood in for him during the wedding ceremony. As long as Qingzi makes a move, won't that Shen family girl obediently fall for him? Pan, Lu, Deng, Xiao, Xian, everything except for Lu, we brothers don't know about. When it comes to having money and leisure, and being gentle and considerate, how is Qingzi any less than his blockhead of a brother? These words gradually brightened Xie Qingzi's disheartened and lost heart. In the past, my parents and elder brother always scolded me for being a spoiled and playful dandy, but now it seems that wasn't such a bad thing. At least I'm not as dull and rigid as my brother Xie Qingkai, who has never even held a woman's hand. I can try to win the favor of the young lady from the Shen family. Besides, she was already chosen by my parents to be my wife. Besides, Xie Erlang had never stumbled in the world of romance or over a woman, though his heart had already yielded. Xie Qingzi still refused to admit it. Let me go and test her out. If she's good, I'll keep her for myself. If she's no good, I'll just toss her to my brother. After all, mother and father will always side with me. Xie Qingkai told me not to see his brother, but his words left me utterly confused. However, the immediate task was to tidy up this empty and dilapidated house. By the time Xie Qingkai returns, this place will finally feel like a home. Yet, for the past 2 or 3 days, there have been small groups of people lingering outside Xie Qingzi's residence across the street, constantly peering in my direction. There was even a young woman named Ji Yu, who claimed to be Xie Qingzi's close friend, who sent over a formal visiting card. I remembered what Xie Qingkai had told me and busied myself with selecting craftsmen and servants. Turning away all visitors one by one, finding maids and servants was easy enough, but skilled craftsmen were surprisingly hard to come by. I looked through many design sketches but was unsatisfied with all of them. They were either too tacky or too outdated. On a winter afternoon, I lay sprawled over the scrolls, growing drowsy as I looked through them. Suddenly, one painting caught my eye. The pavilions and towers were elegant, and even the choice of flowers and trees perfectly matched my taste. Seeing that I had chosen this craftsman, the steward's expression turned troubled. Is his price very high? No, he said, the payment depends entirely on the young lady's discretion. Is his schedule too tight? Not exactly. He said he's only waiting for you to make the selection. Then what's the difficulty? He prides himself on having some artistic taste. He insists on working with you on both the garden construction and purchasing, fearing that if you pick the wrong rocks or plants, the garden might turn out unattractive and you'd blame him. He spoke with reason, but looking at the young man below the steps, wearing a veiled hat and shabby clothes, I still felt somewhat hesitant. Noticing my hesitation, the young man chuckled softly and spoke. Are you, madam, from Wu Commandery? Hearing the local dialect in a foreign land, I felt a sense of familiarity and quickly asked, are you also from Wu Commandery? He removed his curtained hat, revealing a strikingly handsome face. He bowed slightly in greeting, with impeccable manners and propriety. My name is Xie Ji. I'm from Guangling. I studied at the academy in Wu Commandery for 2 years with the eldest son of the Xie family, and we became very close friends. If we're talking about family relations, I should actually call you elder brother. So they were actually cousins from the same clan. The matter of the garden was entirely handed over to Xie Ji. During these days I've discovered that he understands everything and has a unique perspective. Fake antique calligraphy and paintings that cheat people, and inferior flowers, trees, bricks, and tiles passed off as high-quality ones. He just drank his tea without saying a word, and those shop assistants, red-faced, sheepishly put the inferior goods away. On the way back, I counted a stack of order forms, not hiding my admiration for Xie Ji at all. Xie Ji, you're so capable. I was about to pay. But with just one look from you, they didn't dare to cheat me. What kind of skill is this? If this doesn't count as a skill, then what does? Xieji seemed to think of someone and let out a self-mocking laugh. Skills like managing a household and business as Dalang does, or studying for scholarly honors, only useful things count as real skills. But in my view, reading many books is just as impressive as your ability to instantly recognize the quality of wood. Xieji, I said. Looking at him with admiration and deep respect for his skill, the manager said I could pay you whatever I feel is appropriate, but I believe you deserve the highest amount. Xieji's lips curled into a smile at my praise, like a proud peacock. What's this compared to my expertise? When it comes to jewelry and silk, ancient books and paintings, I'm even more remarkable. Just as he mentioned silk, we happened to pass by a fabric shop, and I tugged at Xieji's sleeve. Teach me how to pick some good fabric. I want to send winter clothes to Dalang. Seeing me carrying 4 or 5 bolts of cloth, Xieji took them from me, sounding a bit envious. Dalang is really lucky. I haven't heard of anyone freezing to death in Pengcheng, so why buy so many? When I held a piece of moon-white silk up against him, Xieji turned his head away unhappily. It suits Dalang better to wear black. You needn't compare me to his appearance. No, this piece is for you. I smiled at him, pretending to be troubled, but I suppose no one has ever frozen to death in Guangling, so perhaps it's unnecessary. Xieji was taken aback for a moment, then suddenly, as if acting spoiled, hugged the silk tightly and refused to let go. This year is bitterly cold. I'm afraid poor craftsmen might freeze to death. Seeing me laugh, he also smiled sheepishly. When the sky turned grey, a cold rain began to fall outside. The glowing red lanterns of the tavern shone through the mist. Feeling especially warm, a steaming hot pot was brought to the table, and the shopkeeper also brought a pot of warm wine and salted goose that I hadn't ordered. It was that young lady who gave it to you. I turned my head to look. That young lady smiled warmly, came over to take my arm affectionately, and glanced sideways at Xieji. Sister-in-law has already given me the cold shoulder once, and yet you still don't recognize who I am. It was Xie Qingxi's childhood sweetheart. Jiyu, seeing my apology, Jiyu didn't mind, but looked meaningfully at Xieji. Sister-in-law, you should also be careful. Some of the Xie family's younger generation are idle and uneducated, specializing in deception and fraud. As Jiyu said this, the young men at her table also burst into laughter. Seeing their words laced with sarcasm and disrespect toward Xieji, I immediately turned cold-faced and put down my chopsticks. I don't know who you're talking about, but Xieji is not that kind of person. He is sincere and highly skilled. Please, Miss Ji, do not speak of him in such a way. Seeing how furious I had become, the young people at the table began whispering among themselves. That's strange. I heard that the Shen family girl was supposed to be mild-tempered. Damn it. Isn't he the one who hates spirited girls the most? Why hasn't he left yet? Xieji gently tugged at my sleeve, placed a slice of salted goose in my bowl, and urged me not to get angry. Their salted goose and wine are considered the best in Guangling. Come, try it quickly. Who wants to eat her salted goose? I got angry and glared at Xieji too. Eat what eat? You're not allowed to eat either. Xieji was taken aback, then smiled and obediently put down her chopsticks. All right. I won't eat. I'll be angry with you. The carriage rocked and swayed, with raindrops drifting in through the window. Xieji was still busy trying to comfort me. Getting too angry harms your health. It's not worth damaging your well-being over someone like me. Strangely enough, you weren't angry when the Xie family's second son abandoned you on your wedding night, nor when that unscrupulous merchant cheated you just now. So why are you suddenly so furious over me? The more I thought about it, the more I felt sorry for Xieji. Because you are so good, I cannot let them speak of you that way. It's all my fault. I should have seen it the first time I met you. You had no decent clothes to wear, no place to stay, and were bullied and ostracized by these people, so you couldn't find work to support yourself. Xieji, all these years you've been alone. It must have been very hard for you. Xieji didn't speak, just stared at me for a long, long time. He stood there for so long that the rain soaked his shoulders, yet he remained completely unaware. When I leaned in to get a closer look at his expression, Xieji turned his head away, his face suddenly flushing as red as a drunken shrimp. He gripped the fabric on his knees uneasily. Don't look at me. I think I'm sick. It seems he's quite seriously ill. This is really troublesome. He was indeed very ill, wrapped in a thick cloak, holding a bowl of ginger soup, and sneezing incessantly. The side room he lived in had only thin bedding, so I brought a thick fox fur coat to cover him, fearing his condition would worsen. The rain dripped crisply from the eaves, the winter chill almost seeping into one's bones. Outside the courtyard, there were magnolia trees that had been transplanted the day before yesterday. Unfortunately, they were still bare, and with spring not yet arrived, they had yet to become a scenic sight. Inside the house, a small stove held a pot of ginger soup to ward off the cold. The flickering flames cast a warm glow on Xieji's face, half of his expression hidden in the shadows. It's a good thing it was me who got caught in the rain and fell ill today, not the eldest young master, otherwise, you would have been worried, madam. There was something oddly unsettling about his words. I nodded. That's right, it's fortunate that Daling didn't fall ill. It must be snowing in Pengcheng by now. I wonder if Daling has put on more clothes. After hearing my words, Xieji became inexplicably angry. She set the bowl of ginger soup on the table, refusing to drink it out of frustration. I suppose the ginger must have been too spicy. Xieji, upset about the ginger soup, pulled the thin quilt over her head and muttered incoherently, "Actually, you must have been quite glad that the Xie family's second son ran away from the wedding. So you didn't have to marry him. After all, everyone says the second son is no good, has no future, and is not as capable as his older brother. This works out perfectly. Now you can marry his brother instead." Holding the ginger soup, I thought for a moment and then seriously refuted, "It's not like that." The matchmaker originally spoke of the eldest son, saying how capable and impressive he was, and that the second son was spoiled by the family and had no accomplishments. But when I saw the second son's picture book, I thought he was quite good. His paintings are excellent, and the garden he designed is elegant. I don't have much ambition myself. I thought that with the eldest son managing the Xie family, the second son and I could live a carefree life. But I never expected that he would hear some rumor from somewhere and come to despise me. Xieji suddenly poked her head out from the fox fur, her bright eyes gazing at me with urgent intensity. "Do you really think he's a good man, really, if second brother returns and says he still wants to?" "No." After I turned him down, the sparkle in Xieji's eyes dimmed for a moment as he pressed further. What if Daling changes his heart? If he changes his heart, I'll sell his sincerity for cash, take the money back to Wu Commandery, and still come out ahead." Seeing that I didn't answer, Xieji's expression shifted subtly as she spoke. A maid outside the door announced that Xie Qingqi's letter had arrived. The letter said he had already written to his parents-in-law, telling them not to worry. Once he returned to Guangling, he would definitely take me back to Wu Commandery to see my parents. Attached was also a bundle of local specialties from Pengcheng. I happily handed the letter to Xieji, but he only sneered and refused to take it to read. "Xieji, is there any news from Guangling that you can share with the young master?" Xieji thought of something and smiled with delight. "Well, the garden has been beautifully restored, so of course I had to let Brother Xie know." In her letter, my wife addressed me as a Ji, so Brother Xie would know it was me. Outside the curtain, the winter rain fell all night long, pattering softly. Xie Qingci thought to himself that he should also write a letter to his elder brother and tell him about the interesting happenings in Guangling. For instance, the young lady of the Shun family shares a close bond with him. She calls you Qing Kai, yet she addresses him by his childhood name, Aji. For example, when he receives a piece of clothing, it is likely made by the young lady of the Shun family herself. Fearing he might catch cold, she took great care with every stitch, pouring her heart into it. For instance, when he falls ill, she meticulously slices ginger for him. The fur coat he wraps himself in carries the delicate scent of magnolia from her, as if he were being embraced by her fully. If he only writes about these things, it may not sufficiently convey the brotherly affection and respect. He should also offer a bit of genuine sincerity in his plea. "Brother, to be honest, I've been jealous of you all these years. I'm jealous that you handle everything so perfectly and thoughtfully, and that our parents, teachers, and friends all praise you more than me. While I could only act like a clown, competing with you for our parents' affection, for the garden, for rare treasures. Yet you never seemed to care about anything, always yielding, which made me feel even more defeated when I managed to snatch something from you. It's laughable to say, how could someone win and yet have nothing to show for it? But, brother, from now on I won't compete with you anymore. I'll give you the garden, the rare treasures, and the Xie family's estate, brother. Will you let me have Shenying? If my brother knew that she could pick me out from 100 paintings, that such a gentle-tempered girl would lose her temper so fiercely for my sake, that she adores with all her heart the me whom you all see as an idler, you too would think we are a perfect match. With that, Xie Qingzi set down his brush. The wind blew in through the window, the winter chill piercing to the bone. Yet the small stove by the desk and the fox fur robe he wore made his heart feel as if it were boiling. The door was gently pushed open, bringing in the warm fragrance of magnolia that filled the room. It was Shenying. She had secretly bought the signature rice wine from that shop and handed him a cup with a beaming smile. Xie Qingzi propped himself up with his hand, watching her as she held the wine cup, taking small, delicate sips. Xie Qingzi wanted to remind her that drinking rice wine in the evening breeze could easily make one drunk, but it was already too late. She was already drunk. When she was tipsy and dazed, she didn't make a fuss or cause trouble, only smiled at him, nodding and saying okay to whatever he said. Do you really think Erlang is good? Okay. If I have something I've kept from you, promise you won't be angry. Okay. If Erlang returns and says he still wants to marry, all right. Her drowsy murmurs struck his heart like a sudden clap of thunder. Seeing his face flushed so deeply, she leaned in curiously, pressing her forehead against his as if that weren't enough. Xie Qingzi dared not move. Where she had touched him, a wildfire spread across the plains, as if a magnolia were about to burst forth from his heart. As the snow on the eaves suddenly collapsed, the magnolias outside the window bloomed gracefully one after another. In early summer, birds stealthily carried away cherries. In autumn, small mountain creatures sipped from clear springs. When Xie Qingzi woke up with a headache and a sore throat, the withered branches of the magnolia tree outside the window stood stark and lonely. Still in the midst of a biting winter, the stove fire had long gone out. There was no warm wine, only a pot of cold ginger soup. He touched the fox fur beneath him and let out a hoarse, wry laugh. He really is seriously ill. He actually dares to dream of plucking a spring blossom in the dead of winter. When Xie Qingkai left home, the autumn rain was still vexing. By the time he returned to Guangling, the land was already blanketed in white snow. These past 2 months, it was as if he had never stepped out the door, because the Shun family's daughter sent home letters, sent winter clothes, sent all sorts of little trinkets she found novel: red bean cakes, chestnut buns, candied crabs, salted pastries. And she even brought out a long-necked Guangling goose. Even the accompanying Transport Commissioner Lin couldn't help but laugh at him. His Majesty has arranged so many noble ladies for you to meet, yet you refuse them all. If they knew you married such a gluttonous wife, they'd surely regret not having eaten 2 more mouthfuls of at the palace banquet. A few bold attendants joined in the teasing. They say the young ladies of Wu Prefecture excel most at needlework, able to embroider 10 different flowers on a single handkerchief. So how is it that our young master Xie ended up with such a careless wife, whose winter sleeves even let the cold wind in? Xie Qingkai touched the roughly stitched winter clothes on his body and couldn't help but defend her. I wanted it this way. If it were stitched too finely, it would be too hot. Besides, I didn't marry her to have her do needlework for me. A cold moon hung high in the sky, casting its light over the Guangling ferry. The merchant, having drunk too much, was spouting all sorts of crude and unrestrained words, serving the in-laws, managing the household chores, washing feet, sleeping, and bearing children. What else is a wife for? Could it be to treat her like the goddess Chang'e, placing her among the stars and moon for worship? Xie Qingkai simply leaned against the railing, drinking his wine, gazing at the moon in the center of the lake without saying a word. They had hit upon his innermost thoughts. He was accustomed to his parents' favoritism and used to cleaning up his younger brother's messes. He thought the Shun family's daughter in the bridal sedan would be as troublesome as the ruffians in the gambling den, but behind the round fan, her smiling eyes sparkled, and he felt as if a celestial maiden had deigned to favor him. She said she would wait for him to come back and celebrate the new year together. She said the house had been filled with many new things, and it finally felt like a home. This was the first time he had been away from home, and he was already counting the days, eagerly looking forward to returning, seeing him drinking alone. Lord Lin gave Xie Qingkai a hard pat on the shoulder. "What's wrong? You were the one who stayed up many nights, eager to return, and now you're the one unwilling to disembark. Brother Qingkai, is it the fear of returning home after being away for so long?" No, before he returned to Guangling, he had received a painting she sent, a depiction of the home he longed to return to. The painting was done by his younger brother Xie Qingxi, and he recognized it at a glance. In her letter, she mentioned her younger brother Qingxi, affectionately calling him by his childhood name, Aji. Aji is excellent at drawing gardens. Aji has a top-notch eye for selecting utensils. Aji knows which bakery makes the most delicious pastries. Following closely was Xie Qingxi's letter, every word and sentence filled with boasting. The stitches on the clothes she made were fine and neat. From the very beginning, she had chosen herself. Lastly, there was a letter from his parents. Yet it did not ask about his well-being or whether he had grown accustomed to the food. His parents only said with difficulty, "Your younger brother is very fond of that young lady from the Shen family. Besides, it was only meant for you to stand in for your brother at the wedding ceremony. It was you who took pity on her tears and changed the plan on your own. Now, how about returning her to your brother?" Not good, but what could he do even if it wasn't good? She thought Aji was better than him, now that I think about it. The earnest words at the end of her last letter home, "When will you return home, my dear husband?" might have just been a polite gesture. No one in Guangling was waiting for his return. A family reunited, a river covered in heavy snow, half a pot of bitter wine. He dared not return to see the garden he and his younger brother had built together. Perhaps she was celebrating with his younger brother, sharing a New Year's Eve dinner with laughter and their parents, the whole family harmonious and joyful. Xie Qingkai thought, let it be like this. Let's pause for a moment before this empty joy is shattered. After all, even empty joy is still joy. On New Year's Eve, a rare heavy snow fell in Guangling. It had been a long time since I received a letter from Xie Qingkai, and I guess the heavy snow had delayed it on the road. The garden had finally been tidied up to look a bit more like a home. Couplets were pasted at the entrance, and the bright red lanterns reflected the auspicious snow, creating a festive atmosphere. Worried that Xie might have nowhere to go for the holiday, I asked him if he would like to spend the new year at the Xie family's home. "After all, we are of the same clan. I will buy some gifts, and you can say that you are visiting an elder. You shouldn't have to go hungry with nowhere to go while everyone else is reunited during the new year." Looking at the congratulatory gifts I had prepared for him, Xie tentatively asked, "If I've kept something from you, please don't be angry with me." "All right." I felt a bit wary and gave him a look. "What's the matter? Did you cheat me out of my money?" "No." He seemed a little guilty. "It's just, what if my family background isn't as pitiful as you imagined?" I blew on my hands, smiled, and stuffed the congratulatory gift into his arms. "Then I would be happy for you too." "All right, don't be afraid. Although the eldest son's parents are a bit biased, they are still good people." The Xie residence was decorated with lanterns and colored banners, and Xie's father and mother were already waiting outside the gate. When they saw me getting down from the carriage, Xie's mother affectionately took my hand, sparing me the formalities. I was thinking about Xie in the carriage, wondering how to explain it to Lady Xie. "Mother, there's something I want to tell you." But then the carriage curtain was lifted, and I saw Xie wearing a moon-white gown. The maid beside Lady Xie immediately and attentively handed over a hand warmer. "The snow is heavy today, second master. Don't catch a cold, second master." That's right, Xie is from the collateral branch, so he is indeed the second in line, but I didn't know he was so close with the Xie family. After sitting down, I still didn't understand why Xie could sit so intimately beside my mother-in-law, yet my mother-in-law personally poured a cup of warm wine for Xie and me. "Come, children, have a cup of wine to warm yourselves up first." Seeing that Xie and I had finished drinking, my mother-in-law contentedly took our hands and lovingly placed them together. Alright, with you two making up for this wine, I can finally rest easy. My child may have been a bit unruly in the past, but his feelings for you are genuine. Please don't hold it against him anymore. From now on, feel free to scold him or even hit him until you've vented all your anger. Xieji didn't say a word, just tilted her head and looked at me with a smile. I was stunned. What does this mean? Silly girl, my youngest son Qingxi, his childhood name is Jia. Don't be angry, he didn't lie to you either, you just didn't ask clearly. Xieji, no. Xie Qingxi tugged at my sleeve ingratiatingly. Aying, you can hit me or scold me, but please don't be angry with me. You promised me. My mind was still in a daze. Forgetting my own anger, I thought of Xie Qingkai. What about Daling then? He still has a box of sincerity with me. Mother Xie smiled, not minding at all. Eldest son is fine. He's only met you once, he won't mind. That day it was agreed he would stand in for Qingxi in the wedding ceremony, but it was only because he saw you crying so sadly that he took it upon himself to change his mind. Besides, we have already sent a letter to Pengcheng, and he did not object. So it seems he agrees. He probably won't be coming back for the new year this year either, so there's no need for us to wait. The banquet had already begun. With glasses clinking and the atmosphere lively as if it were another wedding celebration, before me lay a feast of delicacies, yet I had no appetite for any of it. They all say Guangling wine is sweet, but I only find an endless bitterness in its aftertaste. So all these years, it has been very hard for you. Only Xie Qingkai alone. I pushed the cup aside and was about to leave when Xie Qingxi caught up to me. He hurriedly grabbed my sleeve, eagerly trying to keep me. Aying, are you angry with me? Angry that I left you in the bridal sedan chair back then. Angry that I deliberately used the name Xieji to deceive you. At first, I was indeed despicable, thinking so poorly of you. But after spending these days together, I've come to realize how truly wonderful you are. The moonlight and snowlight reflected in his eyes, clear and bright. I believe everything he said is true, and I also believe he is sincerely remorseful. I looked at Xie Qingxi very seriously and spoke softly. Xie Qingxi, I'm not angry with you, really. You left me alone in the bridal sedan, but I wasn't angry. You deceived me with the name Xieji, yet I never got angry with you. During the banquet just now, I kept wondering why I wasn't angry. Now I understand, it's because I simply don't care about you. Xie Qingxi's face instantly turned pale, but he still refused to give up. Do you care about my elder brother, then, Aying? You and my elder brother have only met once and exchanged a few letters. That hardly makes you a good match. These past days, you and I have been painting together, arranging the garden. We share the same interests and tastes. Isn't this the kind of life you've always wanted? If you feel guilty, after we marry, I'll give my elder brother a better and larger garden. We can also help him find a suitable match. You have no idea how many girls in Guangling wish to marry him. Xie Qingxi was right. I don't know Dalang well, but I know he is a very, very good person. Yes, I only met him once and exchanged a few letters, but at our first meeting, without knowing whether I was beautiful or ugly, good or bad, he was willing to reach out and help me. I don't know his likes or dislikes, his habits, his past, or whether we are compatible. I only know that now he is left alone in this world, just as I was once left alone in the bridal sedan chair. Last time he helped me out of a difficult situation. This time it's my turn to go find him. Without looking back at Xie Qingxi's ashen face, I let down the carriage curtain and instructed the coachman to detour to the ferry before heading home. A few snowflakes fell from the sky, and in the distance, the Xie family's merchant ship could be seen docked at the ferry. The boat curtain lifted, and snowflakes swirled in, carrying a sweet, sharp scent of wine. Xie Qingkai didn't know how I had managed to find my way to the ferry. At that moment, a cold wind blew, and the lingering effects of the wine I had just drunk surged up. Drunk and stumbling, I boarded the ship. I staggered and fell into his arms, looking up at him angrily as I asked, "Why did you come to Guangling but not return home? Do you know I've been waiting for you all this time?" Xie Qingkai was caught off guard by my sudden collision and was momentarily speechless. After a long, long while, he finally spoke in a hoarse voice, his eyes filled with bitterness. "I thought you were like them, not wanting me to return." Drunk and emboldened, I cupped Xie face in my hands, tilting my head as I studied him intently. 2 months of exhausting travel in Pengcheng had taken their toll. He had grown much thinner than on our wedding day. How come you've lost weight? Has someone been bullying you? He lowered his head, letting me rub his face. No one has bullied me. I was just eager to return early, so I endured a few snowstorms, stayed up several nights, and went hungry a few times. Thinking of that lavish New Year's Eve dinner, my heart ached for him again. They started eating without waiting for you to come back, and they even spoke ill of you. I was unhappy, so I drank a cup of wine and left, and I'm still very hungry, Xie. What they said was all wrong. I think you're especially good. Xie fell silent, only holding me tightly in his arms. I realized that when you're held very tightly, your neck feels a bit cool. I guess maybe the snow in Xie heart has melted. As the city lights twinkled, fireworks burst brilliantly overhead. It's the new year. On the 3rd day of the Lunar New Year, the sun was bright and the sky was clear without a single cloud, for several days in a row. The weather had been perfect for long journeys. To appease Xie, his parents selected many young ladies for him to meet. He refused to go out, let alone receive guests, shutting himself in the garden and paying no attention to anyone, until today, when Xie and I set off to return to Wu Commandery. As the boat slowly left the shore, I caught sight of a figure in pale blue, hiding far behind the crowd. Xie, as if unintentionally, reached for my hand and refused to let go. What is Aang looking at? Watching an out-of-towner arguing with the old goose vendor. That out-of-towner is really strange. He doesn't want the braising sauce, but insists on having a plate of teeth-souring aged vinegar to dip it in. Xie also laughed upon hearing this. Dipping in vinegar? What kind of way is that to eat? Exactly. Who would eat vinegar like that? Only when he saw me smiling at him did Xie belatedly realize I was teasing him. He cleared his throat lightly and suddenly became serious. When I was in Wu County, I've seen people eat it this way before. Nonsense. We people of Wu Commandery don't eat like that at all. Look carefully at the clothes he's wearing. That out-of-towner must be from Wu Commandery. They say the women of Wu Commandery are skilled with their hands, and they put great care into making clothes for their sweethearts. Seeing that I didn't quite understand, Xie sighed and awkwardly turned his head away. It's vinegar. I'm jealous that you put so much care into making clothes for him. Looking at the hastily hemmed sleeves and the crooked stitches, my face flushed red. Oh, of course. There are plenty of skilled girls in our Wu County. You're the lucky one, marrying the only clumsy-handed one. As soon as these words were spoken, Xie understood the clothes on Erlang weren't made by me, but he still wouldn't let it go. Moreover, you gave him your fox fur robe to keep him warm. What's the big deal? I've even wrapped drowned cats and dogs in fox fur before. The most important thing is that you call him a Ji, yet you only call me Kai. I tiptoed and leaned close to his ear, asking with a smile, then what should I call you? Dalang, Ochi, or perhaps my husband? The wind on the boat was strong, making even sweet whispers sound doubtful to the ear. Xie froze, then urgently grabbed my wrist. Aying. Say that again. But I just said so many things. Xie, which one do you want to hear? It's that I want to learn tailoring from mother, to make you a wedding gown that fits perfectly. Is it that I should ask my father to teach you? 2 taels of silver for private savings is really not a small amount. Or is it that this marriage is so perfectly matched, just right, destined to grow old together with you till our hair turns white?